Hello everyone, it's time for yet another Batman miniature game battle report, but we have a new crew on the table today in the form of the Gotham City Sirens, whose list we'll see in a second. 350 rep of them going up against 350 rep of the Joker. So hopefully in some better lighting, courtesy of the generosity of Alana from my Twitch chat. Here we have 350 rep of the Gotham City Sirens. They work a little bit differently than other crews. Essentially the Sirens themselves are Poison Ivy, who is the leader, Harley Quinn, who is the sidekick, and Catwoman, who is a free agent. But Poison Ivy has the possessed role, which means you can have up to 3 henchmen from any affiliation, as long as you can fit them in points wise, and they are on your side because she's entranced them, or whatever it is that she does. And the only hindrance is that the people who have been controlled that way, in this case Arkham Guard 3, is it? 2 or 3, and Diggle, they have -1 willpower. That's the penalty for controlling them against their will. She is also joined by 2 plants, Carnivorous Plant and, what's the other one called? Spikes Plant. They act a little bit differently with how they're deployed on the table. We'll worry about that at deployment. In terms of objectives, you can see them at the back there: loot, medical, and ammo. Funding wise, this is almost capped out just as is. I think it's 1450, so no room for anything else. So maybe a little bit too bright from this angle. Still getting used to how these photography lights, I don't know what they're officially classed as, work in terms of getting the best angle for like getting rid of some of the shadow, but at the same time not oversaturating. It's a learning process, also working with a very small amount of space in this particular office. But anyway, this is 350 rep of Joker's crew, led by the Arkham Asylum Joker. His sidekick is Gaggy. His free agent is Killer Frost, just to get her some more time on the table, hopefully with her chance to go for combat rather than holding objectives. Then joined by the clowns, Bogrin the Cursed, Whiteface, Hobo Clown, and Rasta Clown. In terms of extra funding, they have brought a extra magazine for Rasta Clown and Whiteface, and I think that was it. There wasn't enough space to also buy a grapple gun. Objectives: Contraband, Titan, and Ace Chemicals. So we rolled d6 for scenario. Got 2 the first roll, but we did that last time. So today is going to be scenario 4, Skirmish. That is 8 inches this end, 8 inches that end. This is going to be Joker's deployment. This is Gotham City Sirens, and it's bonus objectives for killing the leader or KOing him, and then also killing at least 50% reputation worth of at least 1 crew. So coming over here, we can take a little look at deployment. This is Joker's side, as I said. So we've got Bogrin and Gaggy down here, along with a sewer grating, a lamp, and the Gotham City Sirens medical. On the roof here we have Rasta Clown and Whiteface with another sewer grating. Then over here we have the rest of the crew. We have Killer Frost, Hobo Clown, and Joker himself next to a lamppost. And also the ammo here. Now you'll notice a special counter there, we'll cover them in a second. Come over here, I see some of Sora's hairs that are bugging the hell out of me. So we have Catwoman, we have Poison Ivy here, we have John Diggle right there, and then over here we have Arkham Guard 3 and Harley Quinn. So the plants are not on the board to start with. For every plant you bring, you get 2 markers of some variety. They're called seedling markers, but we're just using these jewels. So you set up 2 of them for each 1 plant, and it's a bit like the Gene Stealer cult, that's the word, in 40k, in terms of like you don't know where they're deploying at the start. It's a bunch of markers instead, so the plants could emerge at any race to plan phase from any of these markers. So it's a little bit strategic. One of the plants is ranged, one of them isn't, but they have an action AoE of 4 inches, so they have an attack radius of 4 inches, which is double the reach rule. I guess that's to cover them growing and stretching out vines and stuff. So they can be used to guard things. They can't be 2 inches or within 2 inches of an objective, or a sewer grating, or a lamp. So set them up. There's 1 there, 1 there, 1 there, 1 there. So all that remains to be seen as we come back over here, and I stand in front of the light again, is seeing who gets first activation. Green for Joker, pink for the Gotham City Sirens. And yes, I know really it should be green for them, but working with the markers we have at hand. So the Gotham City Sirens will be going first. Harley Quinn activated first for the Gotham City Sirens. She was over there next to the Arkham Guard. She is very, very fast, much like Catwoman as well. She didn't even use her full movement. She is concealed behind this tree to try and block entirely the line of sight from the 2 armed clowns up here. Also a quick note about the Gotham City Sirens special rules. They impart perks to each other. So Harley Quinn has given Unpredictable to Ivy and Catwoman, meaning that they can spend their special counters as any type of counter. And Catwoman, who herself has the preferred objective loot, which means if she grabs the loot, which is in the middle of the map, she generates 1 extra victory point for holding it per turn, and she can give that rule for a different objective to Ivy and Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn has the preferred objective medical, Ivy has the preferred objective ammo. Now we're moving over to the Joker crew. Hobo Clown activated for the Joker's crew. He was standing between Joker and Killer Frost. He's moved up and is using the monorail pillar there to obscure his vision from the enemies at the far end, kind of over in that direction. John activated now against his will with -1 willpower, keep in mind, so that's 1 less counter to spend. He started there, he is moving across here, and he is standing there. He couldn't see Hobo Clown clearly enough to bother shooting 1 bullet, so he's just going to hold off and wait until next turn to maybe get something done against Hobo Clown. For the next activation, Bogran the Curse activated, and he waddled up towards Harley Quinn over there. Didn't quite get close enough, although his weapon does have reach, I think, but it's irrelevant because he put nothing in attack this turn, but he's just moving up to be all threatening. Point of contention brought up, both crews have the same number of miniatures, so there shouldn't be any additional passes, but at the same time, the 2 plants aren't on the field yet, meaning the Gotham City Sirens have a deficit of 2, so does that apply to being allowed to have passes? It feels like you're hindering yourself if it doesn't count against, like, as in they don't count as being part of your crew until they're on the field. So we're going to work it that the passes are allowed, and they're going to be used right now, but if that's wrong, apologies, it's a little unclear. So given that we're allowing Gotham City Sirens 2 passes until such time as the plants are on the table, the next person to go was Gaggy. He bounced over from here next to the loot and has picked it up, so it's now in his possession. The second pass was used till Joker activated. He was down here. He is now moving into the centre as if baiting some kind of confrontation in there, who knows. So now the Gotham City Sirens have to activate someone. Yeah, now this side of the table seems too bright, unfortunately, but anyway, Poison Ivy activated, she has moved up to the dumpster. Then Killer Frost activated, she moved up and she threw her ice daggers at Diggle. Did very well, did 1 blood, 1 stun, plus the extra stun for the collateral dice result, and it matched for a knockdown. So Diggle is on the ground, but I think that's him at half health as well. So now it's back over to Joker, and all Joker's got left are the 2 clowns on the roof. And for the Gotham City Sirens, we have Catwoman and Arkham Guard 3. So the next activation for Joker's crew was Whiteface, and he is taking the sewer roof thing to teleport all the way across here. So hopefully he can use his sawn-off shotgun from up there. Then the next activation for the Gotham City Sirens was the Arkham Guard under Poison Ivy's power. He opted not to move, he was going to take the sewer grating, but noticed that Bogran, it was illuminated by that light so he could see him and unloaded into him. He's only defense 2, so it's hitting on 2s, wounding on 2s. Did a staggering 9 blood, leaving him on 1 endurance and hurting real bad. So now, we just have this other clown to activate, and Catwoman to see off the first battle round. So to see off Joker's final activation, Rasta Clown just simply moved further forwards right up to the edge of the building there to give him as much line of sight and range as possible to attack anybody who walks into line of sight in the main square down there. So then that left Catwoman. She obviously wanted to go for the loot, but Gaggy has the loot, so instead she used her staggering like 15 inches in total she can get to get into base to base with Killer Frost. Just come around here. And thanks to Harley Quinn giving her the unpredictable rule, she spent her 1 special she had sitting, which was going to be for crouching, on 1 single attack with her whip, and it got through. It did 1 blood, 1 stun to Killer Frost. Bit risky, obviously putting herself right out there, but she does have backup. Poison Ivy's there, Diggle's there if he stands up. So they've got this side fairly locked down. We'll be back in a second with recovery and recap for Battle Round 1. At the end of Battle Round 1, Killer Frost did not recover 1 of her stuns, nor did John Diggle, so everyone who got stunned are still exactly the same. Bogran obviously just has blood damage, so there's nothing to be healed there. In terms of victory points, the only victory points gained in this battle round was Joker's crew with Gaggy grabbing the loot so that Catwoman couldn't get it for 1 victory point. We'll see whether or not he's going to just charge in with it now or retreat, depending on what it's worth more. So that's all the victory points and all the recovery out the way. We'll cover at the top of the next turn whether or not any plants have entered the battlefield, but let's see who is going to get first activation in Battle Round 2. Statistically more likely to be Joker's crew, well, it doesn't necessarily have to be, but it is. Joker's crew gets first activation. So we're opening battle round 2 with a little bit of retconning to go back to change a rule that was spotted that was wrong. The Arkham Guard could not have shot at Bogran the Cursed because he should not have had 4 counters to distribute, which is his normal max. He should have had 3 because he's under Poison Ivy's mind control, so he couldn't have had 2 in attack, 1 in movement, 1 in special to use the Surge rating he was on. It seemed fairest to erase the damage because it was much more likely he wouldn't have anticipated being able to shoot at Bogran, so that didn't happen. Bogran is back to full HP, and the Arkham Guard instead took the Surge rating to end up at this side of the level, aiming for the medical supplies rather. That seemed, we had to go back and correct that because it was a lot of damage that shouldn't have happened. Other than that, just before we go into the first activation then, plants have popped up. The close range one has popped up there, and the ranged one has popped up all the way back here behind Killer Frost and Hobo Clown. Right, back on with our regularly scheduled battle report. So to get the battle round started proper, Killer Frost activated, and she has Chill Touch, so her close combat attacks do 1 blood instead of just 1 stun. She attacked Catwoman. Catwoman has defense 5, so it's very hard to hit her. She failed to land any of her 3 attempts. No, she hit with 2 of her 3 attempts, but Catwoman used up 2 defense dice to negate it. She then moved behind this dumpster here, basically just heading away from the plant that's popped up, and also towards both John and of course the backline objectives for Joker's crew. Harley Quinn activated first for the Gotham City Sirens, and the Unbreakable Rule is just so good, being able to use special counters as any other type of counter, and it takes them above their maximum. So she has a 1 magazine, so it's essentially once per game unless she gets an ammo objective. Twin guns that hit 4 times, so point blank almost, they weren't touching, so she could still fire them. She shot Bogran with her twin guns, please don't focus on the tree, that accursed tree. Did 8 blood to him, then walked around him with a lot of movement, right outside the XXX bar. She crouched behind the car. She couldn't get to the medical, she didn't have quite enough after walking round, so she's crouching here just in case Rasta Clown on the roof here decides to take a 1 rate of fire shot at her, or Gaggy bounces back, just to cover her bases, and of course we do still have the Arkham Guard there as well. Back over to Joker's crew next. Joker activated next, and as you can hopefully see, he shuffled along here so he could see Harley and threw exploding teeth at her because apparently they're having a bit of a lover's spat. It hit, it exploded, but her ping roll saved her, so presumably that still gives the Just a Scratch 1 stun. So that is out. He's still got 1 set of exploding teeth left. Harley's got 1 stun damage. It's personal now. Ivy activated next and walked round the dumpster around here into combat with Killer Frost and attempted to use Mortal Kiss. So along with however many dice you're attacking with as normal, you spend 1 additional special plus 2 for the skill itself, so 3 in total. And as long as you deal damage, the Mortal Kiss kills the target, because, you know, Poison Ivy's kiss is deadly. Sadly, hits landed, didn't wound, so Mortal Kiss has failed. Don't remember if that's a once per game or not. Either way, failed this turn, so they are still just locked there together, doing nothing illicit. The now heavily wounded Bogran the Curse activated next. He moved past the plant into contact with his Ace Chemicals to claim it, couldn't manipulate it because he's stupid. With his reach weapon he attacked the plant there and wasn't able to do anything to it. He's hoping to survive to generate some extra victory points at the end of his turn. We'll see if it happens though, as we go back over to the Gotham City Sirens. Catwoman activated next, and her whip has reach, so she struck out at Hobo Clown, did 1 blood, 1 stun and a knockdown. She then moved towards the ammo, did not leave herself enough to actually make it, which is a big mistake there. And it's giving up 3 victory points this turn essentially. Plants can't move or claim. I can't remember if that was covered earlier. So she's not claiming it, but she's on her way. Primary target loot, or primary target whatever has been assigned for Ivy and Harley's cases. It doesn't say you can't control other objectives, it just says you get bonus victory points for controlling the one that you desire most. So Catwoman can claim the ammo. Just unfortunate she isn't going to do it this turn. Mr. John Diggle activated next. He stood up and shot 1 of his pistol rounds into Killer Frost for 1 blood, 1 stun, doubling the damage on her essentially, and making her a little bit weaker going forwards. Hobo Clown activated, stood up and moved into contact with the spitting plant and did 1 blood and 1 stun to it. The way plants work is that if they are ever knocked out they just instantly die, but they can never give up more than 1 victory point when they are removed. I think this one has 5 endurance, the other one has 6. I think this one just has to flail wildly now because it's the ranged one, so he's moved into contact with it to hopefully stop it doing that. We'll see though as we bounce back over to the Gotham City Sirens. The spiked plant activated and just used melee attacks against the Hobo Clown, did 2 stun which brought him over his very low endurance of 4, so he is now knocked out, so that's 1 victory point for a henchman knocked out. Skipping straight to the next Joker activation, Rastaclan activated. He had to shuffle in order to see Harley Quinn, so he was only firing rate of fire 1. He moved and did so, didn't land the hit roll, so no Justice Scratch or pings or anything else required for there. So now, back over to the Gotham City Sirens, who still have the other plant and the Arkham Guard, and then Whiteface for Joker. Let's see if we can wrap those up real quick to end battle round 2. So to wrap up those final activations we were talking about, the Arkham Guard moved just using his normal movement to claim the medical. He shot just 1 rate of fire at Gaggy, did 3 blood to him, which was pretty good. Whiteface activated. He moved right to the edge of the building, ready to do a leap down next turn to claim the contraband that's all the way over there. And the final activation was the Carnivorous Plant, which nommed at Bogran the Curse for exactly 2 blood, taking him over his cap and killing him outright. So we'll be back in a second with the final recap for Battle Round 2. At the end of Battle Round 2, the only thing to recover any stun damage was the Spitting Plant. So Harley still got 1 stun on her, Diggle still has 2, Killer Frost still has 2, Hobo Clown stayed unconscious. He needed to get over, under a 4, or 4 or under. He got a 5, so he's still down and out. In terms of victory points gained, Joker's crew, they were going to hold Ace Chemicals, but obviously Bogran went down just in time to stop that happening. Gaggy still has the loot for 1 victory point, and that's it, I think. Yeah, the Gotham City Sirens, though, they have their medical supplies for 3. It's not Harley holding them, so it's not an extra victory point. They knocked out 2 henchmen for 1 victory point respectively each, and then an additional 1 victory point for making Bogran a casualty. So they have pulled ahead, I think, 6 or 7 plays 2. But Joker's crew has everything to gain. Harley Quinn is obviously in a spot of bother with a lot of enemies surrounding her. If she goes down, that's a sidekick down, and that's worth a lot of points. Let's see who is going to get first activation in Battle Round 3. It's going to be a fairly important one, I feel. And it's going to be Joker's crew. Let's move on. So as we start Battle Round 3, Joker's crew really need to make some points back, and they wanted to start out strong by taking out Harley Quinn. So Rastaclan activated and shot at full rate of fire this time at Harley Quinn, rolled 2 2s and a 1 for his hit roll. Didn't even come down to him needing to use the accurate roll they has against her dodging ranged attack. Very, very disappointing. But over to the Gotham Sirens now. It was rough, but capitalising on Harley Quinn still being alive, she activated. She used her reinforced baseball bat on Gaggy, did 4 stun, he had 3 blood sitting on him from before, taking him exactly to his endurance cap, so he is now knocked out, and that's a sidekick knocked out, which is exactly what Joker's crew wanted to do to Harley, but she showed them who's boss, I guess. She then hopped around the car and is claiming the medical as well, and if she is claiming that by the end of the turn, she gives a bonus victory point. Killer Frost activated next, and rather than immediately deal with Poison Ivy, she moved in contact with Ace Chemicals because Joker's crew desperately needs points, and her Ace Daggers were ready again, so she threw them at Diggle again, and once again did 1 blood, 1 stun, and knocked him down. Well, I think she had the crit last time for the extra stun. Either way, Diggle's on the floor. He's very tanky though, that's why he's such a good henchman. I think his total damage is up to 5 now, and he has 7 endurance. So he's alive, but he is once again on the floor. Poison Ivy activated next, and she's an acrobat as well, and had no movement counters much like Killer Frost did, so she could cover the exact same ground. She went into contact with Killer Frost, attempted Mortal Kiss again, and this time succeeded. So Killer Frost has been removed as a casualty upon receiving the poisoned kiss from Ivy, making things exceptionally bad for the Joker crew. Joker activated next, came round the corner and attacked the Arkham Guard. Now unfortunately this Arkham Guard has hockey gear, so he does not get the sharp roll when he's swinging his little stiletto, no that's not the word I'm looking for, poison knife at him. He only did 1 blood in the end, no crit for the poison. Also forgot to mention, Gaggy obviously dropped the loot when he fell unconscious, so that's now sitting there on the ground, just waiting there for something or someone to grab it. So we're going back over to the Gotham City Sirens now, who still have both their plants to go and Catwoman. Just to quickly recap the rest of the activations for Battle Round 3, since the plants, the 2 plants, one over there and the other one obviously over here, couldn't do much, so we couldn't decide whether or not the plant could coup de grace, because it can't shoot, because I think the Hobo Clown is unconscious still in base to base with it. It probably doesn't matter at this point anyway. Diggle stood up and just moved 4 inches over there, and Whiteface leapt down. He used the leapt down roll to claim the contraband. He shot at this plant to no effect. So that takes us to the end of Battle Round 3, now it's time for recovery and recap. So at the end of Battle Round 3, the only person to recover any stun was Harley Quinn. That stun that she's been carrying around for a little while is finally gone. The Hobo Clown did not wake up, Gaggy did not wake up, one was much less likely than the other. John still has his stun on him as well, so he's pretty hurt as well. In terms of victory points, Joker's crew got 2 victory points from the contraband, and Whiteface now has +1 to hit and damage rolls next turn, for it was a 4 result, I believe it was. Thankfully Joker is contesting the medical down there, because if not it would have been 4 bonus victory points to the Gotham City Sirens for controlling 2 of their objectives at the end of 1 turn first. Because keep in mind, Catwoman obviously has the ammo over here in the corner. They still managed to score an amazing amount of victory points though. They got 3 for the ammo, they knocked out a sidekick for 2, they knocked out and then made a casualty of a free agent, so that's what, 5 in total? Something like that. It's probably an insurmountable lead at this point. We'll see how Battle Round 4 plays out though, before really calling it. But the first crew getting first activation in Battle Round 4 will be the Gotham City Sirens. So to get it started with Battle Round 4, Harley Quinn activated, hopped over the medical supplies, although still in base to base with it, and took some swings at Mr. J with her baseball bat. He had 4 defense dice though and was able to negate her attacks to result in absolutely no damage. Sorry if you can hear the car alarm in the background also, I'm sure everyone is flocking to the scene to make sure the car is okay. Back over to Joker's crew now to scramble for something. The Clown activated and shot his last magazine into Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn used her dodging range attack, and despite it having a -1 penalty, meaning she had to roll 3 or under to dodge rather than 4 or under, she still managed it and took no damage. Clown in disgust then just moved next to the sewer grating, unable to do anything now that he's out of ammo. That is very, very depressing. Back over to the Gotham City Sirens now. Ivy's mind-controlled Arkham Guard activated next. He didn't want to move from where he was. He technically could have pulled back and shot once, but where he is, Joker's outnumbered, which gives him a detriment in hand-to-hand combat because he's not a martial artist, obviously. So he's deciding to stay there. He took some swings with his fists at Joker and did nothing. Whiteface all the way over here activated again. He's just staying in base to base with the contraband to claim it for some victory points, but he shot his blunderbuss at this carnivorous plant over here. Tree getting in the way as per usual, and did 2 blood 1 stun rather. The plant is the sturdier of the two with 6 endurance, so he's still halfway there. He has 1 shot left because of the extra magazine he brought though, so he might be able to finish it off in Battle Round 5. Let's move on and see what happens next. So because the plants could basically do nothing again, we're just going to very quickly wrap up the rest of Battle Round 4 because this is a disastrous game for Joker's crew. Diggle moved over here. His plan is to go arrest Hobo Clown, however he couldn't quite cover the distance in his wounded state, so he might be able to do it next turn, assuming Hobo Clown doesn't wake up. Poison Ivy's just moved over there. Let's see who else, and I think the last one to go was just Joker himself. He used his poison knife on the Arkham Guard. It did 1 blood and did land the crit this time, so the Arkham Guard is poisoned. So at the start of each battle round he has to pass an endurance roll to get rid of the 1 poison marker, or it does 1 blood to him. He's up to 2 damage out of 5 endurance, so he's not going to die to the poison unless some more damage gets done next time. So that is it. Let's go to... oh wait, no, you know what? Catwoman still has to go, although presumably she's just going to hold the ammo for the victory points. If that's just going to happen, then we're just going to go straight to recap. If not, we will cover what she did. So at the end of Battle Round 4, Gaggy and Hobo Clown did not wake up. Diggle recovered 1 stun. The plant that's got a stun on it did not. In terms of victory points, the Joker crew had anything? Oh, the contraband. That's right. And got a 6. So that's 3 victory points from the contraband this turn, which is just a small glimmer of hope in a game where literally everything that could go wrong for them has. They are still contesting the medical to deny those points. Catwoman did just decide to stay still, because even if she went and grabbed the loot, it would be 2 victory points versus 3. Although if she could have grabbed it, it would have been then 4 for doing the scenario condition. But even though she is fast, she can't make it from there all the way to there and have a movement to pick it up. So she claimed the ammo for 3, and let's see, what else was it this turn? I think that was it this turn for them. Not that they need any more victory points, honestly. So Battle Round 5 might end up being the last battle round because Joker won't be able to continue after that, but it's just honestly everything has gone right for the Gotham City Sirens and everything has gone wrong for Joker. Although Joker is getting first activation, let's see what we can do with that. To To get us started with Battle Round 5, Joker activated, he slashed at the Arkham Guard with his knife, determined to kill him. Incidentally, he got over his poison, so he didn't take any damage from that. He also took no damage in this battle round either. It is just a shocking display for Joker this turn. Harley struck out at her pudding and did nothing in retort, so at least he's not the only one who's having a bad day. But still staying there, everybody is, to contest the medical. No damage done on either part, and back over to Joker's crew now to see what they can do. Whiteface activated next and shot his last bullet at the plant. Do you see those snake eyes there? That's what he rolled for his hit roll. It's the beginning of the end. This is unbelievable. Just a string of bad luck. This is how the killing joke happens. So we're just going to recap some final activations here because the Joker crew is going to concede. There's no attainable way to win at all. Harass the Clown did teleport through the sewer there, the goal to get to these chemicals there, but Poison Ivy with her good movement is moving over here to back up her plant as well. Neither of them have ammo left, so they're not really going to be able to do anything to her next turn. She might not be able to kill them, but it's not. She could contest one of the objectives easily. Down here, obviously, Catwoman just sticking on the ammo. Diggle arrested Hobo Clown for another victory point, and the Arkham Guard did nothing to Joker, but he doesn't need to. So we'll be back in a second with the total recap because this was a stomping. So what an unbelievably bad day for the Joker's crew that was. It was just, the dice just weren't in their favour. It was the first game where it really felt just everything that could go wrong did. Every dice roll just went in the Gotham City Sirens' favour, every single one. In terms of like the last turn recap, the Contraband gave up 2 more victory points. Catwoman's still holding the ammo for 3, the henchman got arrested for 1. It was a shocking match. It wasn't even the Gotham City list, or the Gotham City Sirens I should say, was super duper strong, although it does seem to perform very well. Like Poison Ivy's ability to insta-kill someone if she does a grab attack is pretty powerful. You gotta take her out before she gets close. And she's very fast if she wants to be, 3 movement counters plus she's an acrobat, so... And if you position her plants right, she can actually use them to teleport, I think. Like if you're within their sphere of influence, which is 4 inches, she can teleport from one end to the other to influence, or to imply that they pick her up and carry her. So yeah, that was a nasty list. Things just didn't go in the Joker's favour. I feel like if the dice rolls were a bit more balanced in the results, it would have been a bit closer. There were some just terrible missed shots, not even just at the end. But I think in the end the Gotham City Sirens still would have won. They were doing well with their victory points regardless of shots not landing. So the final scores was an amazing 9 victory points to Joker, and a not at all impressive first showing from the Gotham City Sirens. Very disappointing really, 22 victory points. Good for them. This list for the Gotham City Sirens is very interesting. It's probably going to stay on for another match against some other crew. Not sure which yet. Nice first showing, to drop all facade of sarcasm. They did really well. It's a very good list. Joker's list, it had legs, but something went horribly wrong early. The dice gods were not there. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Please do show your support if you wish to see more Batman miniature games soon, and I will see you next time. Ta for now.